Hello, everybody. This is the Nameless one, and we are back in the new year with the first stream of the year. It's going to be a Q&A stream, a bit different than what we usually do, but if you guys have any questions for me about pony-related stuff, D&D-related stuff, questions about like what I do, how I've come to be where I am channel-wise, like anything like that, go ahead and post them in the chat. I have a few questions already from my Discord community that I will be starting out with to give some people some stuff to start with. Hello in the chat, Lightning. Now, let's go ahead. We're going to just jump right into it. And we're going to go in with a question from, if I can find the messages. There we go. Let's see. We're going to start with a question from Sawtooth. And Sawtooth asks, what's your favorite or least favorite parts of being a DM / running your campaigns? So, well, hello there. Let's see. Thank you to Raven1X in the chat for the $20 super chat. It says Happy New Year's. Okay, keeping up with the great work. Awesome job. Thank you for the wonderful message there, Raven. I hope you're having a wonderful New Year's and continue to have a wonderful year. Also, hello Moonstar. So, back to the question. So, Sawtooth asked previously what my favorite and least favorite parts of being a DM / running campaigns are. Moonstar, I will actually get to that question here in a minute. You are not the first person to ask. But as to Sawtooth's question, I would say one of my favorite parts about like doing the DMing for my channel for my players is definitely when they start putting 2 and 2 together with plot hooks that I've given them. Some of my favorites have been like watching them, specifically the Peacemakers, putting things together that kind of been dropped throughout campaigns. Lost Memories has been trying to piece together pieces of past information. Definitely when they start figuring that out, it's very fulfilling. As to least favorite things, it's kind of a twofold thing. Interplayer conflict out of character stuff like can be very uncomfortable, and like I'd prefer it didn't happen, but you know, not everybody's perfect, so sometimes you just kind of end up with problems that happen outside of the game but like related to the game. The other thing is when I overplan and things sound really cool on paper and then it goes up in flames. That's happened more than a few times. But we'll go ahead and move on to the next question. And Moonstar asked, how did you get into this career? And somebody else, who was it that had a similar question? Let's see. Ah, yes, Doc Anubis on my Discord asked, what inspired you to start doing YouTube, and while we're at it, what inspired your OC? So I'm gonna start with the YouTube question. So originally I joined the fandom about 2 years ago now, and I had previously been in the Undertale fandom as like one of the quiet observer types. Like every fandom has millions of them. But when I joined this fandom, I decided that I wanted to be a creator. So I kind of started out with, what's the word? I started out with just doing fanfic writing. I wrote a chapter of a fic and then joined a Patreon server where I was like, I joined the server, looked around, and I was kind of like, yeah, y'all aren't really doing anything here. How about I start a D&D campaign? And the person I was Patreoning to, you might have heard of him. He's slightly popular. Is Sawtooth Waves. He was like, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. But like, I saw a bit of potential for like streaming that. So like, he wasn't really interested in streaming it himself. So I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna start streaming it. And from there, it started out pretty slow. We did have a decent jump when he like mentioned me in one of his videos, but where it really took off for me was definitely in the into the multiverse video that he and I did together. And that kind of actually leads into another question that was asked by Namink. He asked, what is it like to be able to do collabs with someone as famous as Sawtooth Waves? Also, how much does it annoy him when you pester him about collabing? So, to answer that question, also hello Torn. To answer that question, Sawtooth has told me that like as much as I do pester him, it doesn't bother him when it comes to collabing. So he is definitely like cool with that. And it's honestly like it's a lot of work. Like the recording in general is just a lot of work, but like it's a lot of fun. It's very fulfilling watching like you put in like amount of hours of work, and then whenever the video goes live, just watching the people enjoy it, watching like comments on the video. There's always at least a small kind of jump in my channel subscribers whenever I collab with him. It's gotten to the point now that like I can actually do both way collabs where he's already shown up in one of my videos. He's going to be shown up in another one, small cameo kind of deal. And it's definitely like something I'm really looking forward. Like he and I have been talking about a possible collab in the future. As of right now, that's something that's like in the works, but we're both kind of busy, so it hasn't gotten fully off the ground yet. I'm going to go back to Doc Anubis's question, to the second part of the question, and he asked, what inspired my OC? So my OC, well, actually all three of my OCs are fairly old characters. We're going to primarily talk about the Nameless one, or Shadowfire as he is known in his pony form. But I originally had art done of him by a creator named Falzo, who has also done some of the pony art that I have for Shadowfire. And the original form was kind of more of like a draconic humanoid. And I was like, when I joined the Brony fandom, I was like, I need a character to be my face. Because, like, in the Undertale fandom, I used Gaster. And so I decided that the best course of action was to do what I normally do and just adapt my three most used characters into the appropriate form for like the fandom I was in at the time. And so I decided to choose the Nameless one as my primary character. Fun fact, he does not actually technically have a name up until the point of the in his like canon, until he becomes like Pony, at which point he gives himself a name. But yeah, that is definitely, I will probably end up discussing like more about his story and whatnot in like the end of the month discussion with my Patreons. But for now, let's go ahead and go to the next question. We're going to go, this one is a question from Alexander. Out of all the character classes you've made for the Peacemakers campaign, which were your favorite and least favorite, or one you feel the most proud of? So, as to a least favorite, I would say the Druid of Mirage for the Changelings. I haven't had a chance to really test it, and it feels like it could be better, but I'm not entirely certain how to do it with what I wanted to do with it. It was definitely something that was meant to take what could have... So when I originally made the Changelings, they were a little broken because they could basically true polymorph into anything, and giving that to a party, it kind of breaks the balance, because if the entire party isn't all Changelings, you then have Changelings turning into bugs, like literal bugs. Like, I think their favorite form was cockroaches, and scurrying around while the rest of the party has nothing to do. For favorites, though, I would have to say that the Path to Near Kirin is definitely one of the ones that I have enjoyed watching players use the most. Followed up probably by, let's see, I'd say probably followed up by either the Wonderbolt, Shadowbolt, and Washout classes, or the Paladin and Cleric classes. It was definitely a lot of fun. The balancing can probably still use a bit of work for especially the Paladin and Cleric classes. But honestly, the Neric one was like the one that felt the cleanest so far, and Kirin are just amazing. Let's see. So let's see what's our next question. This one is from NagaFan. Are the new tweaks seeping out from Wizards of the Coast going to affect the games you are streaming? So with Dungeons and Dragons, like, especially if it is a streamed game, it's kind of like a work in progress at all times. So if you find something that you enjoy out of some of the new stuff that WotC puts out, you can very easily incorporate it without having to vastly change if you're largely running a homebrew world anyways, which, despite mine being based in Equestria, it is almost entirely homebrew, like all of the races and everything. Like, so if I see something that I like enough to incorporate, I will, but not necessarily like go out of my way to change anything. There's a lot of different things that I am interested in trying. So uploading and posting videos, that's a good question. Moonstar asked, how long does it take for you to upload and post? It kind of depends on the length of a video and the availability of my editors, because with doing 8 streams a week and now a upload a month, between putting together all of the stream stuff, writing the scripts, and recording everything, I don't have the technical know-how or the ability to actually be able to like edit everything. So it really depends on the availability of my editors. On a good day, it's normally about 2 weeks. The first week is me getting everything written down, recorded, and sent to them. And then after that, it'll be edited, and normally takes them about a week to get like a 5 to 8 minute video done if they like have the time. And this is like assuming that they stay on it and don't like have any kind of emergencies happen. We've had everything from exploding computers to family emergencies happen to like all kinds of crazy stuff. So can't thank those guys enough. They are actually like lifesavers on that part. But yeah, to One Alone asked homebrew like in a microbrewery. No, when I say homebrew is the term given to any kind of D&D content that you like make yourself. So like I made all of the races that you see in the show and the comics for My Little Pony into a, what's the word I'm looking for? Into like playable races. So it's basically, just a fancy way of saying like homemade or like table rules. Let's see. Okay, I think I will move on to the next question. Let's see. We already answered that one. Okay, so Baba22 asks, where did you first come across MLP and Dungeons and Dragons? So I actually kind of came up across both of them in the same general place. Like I had always like since I was a kid known of the existence of Dungeons and Dragons and My Little Pony, both of which were like, My Little Pony was just kind of something that was on my radar for years, whereas D&D was something that I had been wanting to try and do for even longer. After I joined the military, I got stationed in Japan. And while I was stationed in Japan, I found a group of people that was actually playing D&D. It was my first time ever getting to play, and they were playing 5th edition. So I decided to join in. And the DM there was very much a rules as written and no other way. So, like, basically, if it wasn't in the rule book, he wasn't going to do it. And the games felt kind of stiff, and like a lot of the players were just kind of screwing around, and I was looking for something a little more serious at the time. So I decided after that, you know what? I've figured this out for the most part. I can do this. I couldn't do that. It took me a while to get to a point where I could like actually properly run a campaign. If you ask Moon on the Discord, like there was quite a few times where people got very upset with me due to lethal nat ones. I was really bad about that for a while. I also, for a little while, was pretty bad with, I had a few issues with railroading, although I've gotten pretty good at avoiding that one, and I've dropped the lethal nat ones. I do, as to MLP, I also in Japan, like right before I left the military, I was able to meet somebody that was actually a brony. And that was the first time that somebody had been openly a brony, and I got to talking to them, and like they made the fandom sound pretty awesome. And so I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm a join. And that's about how I ended up being a brony. Let's see. Honestly, for what One Alone just said, a lot of like how I play D&D with my players, the majority of the stuff is like I very rarely actually use the books for anything other than like helping players create characters. The one time that I had to heavily rely on like book, like Monster Manual monsters and stuff like that was when Moon actually helped me with creating a section of the Peacemakers campaign, because he helped me build the dungeon that they ran through before they fought Sol Tenebris, the BBEG of that campaign. And let's go ahead. We're going to go to the next question. So, next question is from Torn. What's your favorite campaign or your favorite NPC you've created? So, I would say at this point, Lost Memories and Peacemakers are like tied for my favorites right now. We will be pretty soon starting the next campaign, which I have dubbed Heart of Darkness. And I don't know... I don't know which one I would say if any of them... let me finish answering this question and I will get to your question, Bun. So, as to favorite NPCs, I would say Saragus. Saragus has been an incredibly interesting character to create, to use for the campaigns. He's kind of like inspired by characters like Alistair and Bill Cipher, that like deal-making devil type. He's going to be a continued thing to be seen throughout campaigns. Other than that, there isn't any major like jump out NPCs that I am like, yes, this is an awesome NPC. Most of the like characters that I really enjoy seeing throughout the campaign are generally my players. Now, next question from Tiny Cinnamon Bun. Do you have any tips for role-playing a character better? So, with that one, it is definitely a person-by-person basis. I definitely recommend, like, when you think about, like, there's always that cliche of, oh, what would my character do? But legitimately, like, getting into that frame of mind, knowing what kind of, like, character you want and thinking like that will definitely help you to, like, get into that character's head. And then kind of at some point, for some people, it just kind of flows. Like, you start making the decisions. For some people, it helps to do things that get them into character. I've seen people do things like making gumbo to, like, get into character. Accents sometimes help people because you mentally differentiate, okay, now I'm talking as this character, not as me. And then I would say also, if you're going for more of a serious role play, trying to avoid, like, not necessarily avoid humor, but like the lol random ISO funny type humor can be a bit disruptive to roleplay. It's actually like, if you're trying to get seriously into a roleplay character, it is not that dissimilar from like method acting, depending on the person. Argo specifically played Nasa for the longest time in Lost Memories. She would do things like cook gumbo, speak in an accent, and just like things to like put a like, okay, I am now in this character mode instead of the instead of just like it also really is important to like know what you want your character to be like. So like if you want a bubbly happy character, you can't go in and then act like an emo. But if you want like a flamboyant, dramatic, like roguish, like rapscallion type character, you gotta like pick like a good way to do it is also like pick like a character from fiction that you like want to emulate. So say you want to be a rogue that has an answer for everything, but like legitimately he's flying by the seat of his pants, but he always seems like he has a plan. Then look at somebody like Captain Jack Sparrow and kind of like emulate that kind of vibe. Don't rip him off entirely. Like make it your own, but try and like emulate what you see from that. Some of the mannerisms, like whenever like say somebody asks, "Do you have a plan?" You look at him funny and say, "I always have a plan." And then don't tell them what the plan is because you don't actually have a plan. I hope that helps. So if you want any more specific answers, then feel free to ask. As to Moonstar's question, did I get any ideas from Sawtooth? Not directly. A lot of my content and a lot of my stuff, like a lot of my stances on alicorns are generally directly like against his, and like I will create like I could say that technically like I started thinking on Lost Memories because I was wanting to do a Fallout Equestria campaign, didn't like their system, and then Sawtooth released his like government video that was like it was not exactly like it felt like it was not looking at the full big picture. And then I was like, well, what would happen if we tried to do what he was suggesting with the kind of like implications that you get from like the races that exist in the setting? And that's eventually how Lost Memories kind of came to be. As to your other question about where I got my microphones and all that, I use a Razer Kraken headset with a Blue Yeti microphone and some like soundproofing setup. For the most part, I got it either off of Amazon or for like Target or something like that. The program I use is for OBS. And also, yes, NPC is non-player character. But yeah, that's let's take a look at the next question from the from the Discord. This one's also from Sawtooth. What are you the most excited for going forward? Honestly, at this point, going forward, I am like looking forward to the resolution of Lost Memories and the start of the next campaign, Heart of Darkness, for the Peacemaker group. Briar Rose the Hedgehog asks, how many campaigns have you actually done before? Started or finished? Because those are two very different questions. It's like getting everybody together to continually meet for Dungeons and Dragons is definitely something that is very difficult. Let's see. Proper campaigns, I have started 3, 4, I'd say 7 now. Peacemakers will be my first one that I have been able to keep the party together long enough to have it come to a natural conclusion instead of being a forced conclusion due to like people leaving. Because like I said, I started out doing D&D in the military, so like there was a lot of like not enough time and people get moved around so much. So like technically I finished another campaign but like it was like an abbreviated ending. But yeah, it's definitely one of those that I have started plenty, and all of them have taught me more and more about being a DM as time has worn on. But yeah, Peacemakers will be my first natural finish campaign. And let me tell you, it has been a blast. I have absolutely loved playing with these guys. It's definitely something that I am super excited to see where we go next with Heart of Darkness, whenever that one starts. Let's see. Do I have any more questions in the Discord? I think I have addressed everybody's. Yeah. Okay. Well, with that, does anybody in the chat have any questions? Any more questions, I should say. I am open to just about anything question-wise, as long as it's respectful and appropriate. Yes, Bun, I do know the way. Let's see. Yes, that is correct. If you check out the link in the description, there is a link to my Patreon and my Discord server. The Discord server is public, and I do keep up a schedule of like what streams are happening when. And especially try to keep up with like people there, answer more questions. That's also where all of my like Patreon rewards, I deal with that there as well. Multiple tiers of Patreon reward, to include one where it's a bit expensive because of how much work it is for me, but there is a tier that you... How many videos did I upload last year? That's a good question. Bun, you know the answer to that question. Everybody say hello to my girlfriend in the chat. She is being very aggressive about asking about if she is my girlfriend. Before I go check how many... First, I'm going to answer Briar Rose the Hedgehog's question. What got you into the Mlp fandom? So, I had already always liked the kind of like the art style of MLP, but what really got me into it was like the fandom itself. Cause like, I don't know if y'all have ever noticed, but MLP has an absolutely amazing fandom. Let's see. Give me just a second. 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. A total of 31 videos, by the way, for the person that asked about how many videos uploaded last year. And for Lightning Stripe. So, two things major question-wise. Yes, I'm aware you were teasing, Bun, but two things question-wise on jumping into any kind of YouTube thing. One, find your gimmick. You gotta, like, regardless of whether or not you necessarily think you want to, you need to be able to stand out from the rest. Because if you look through YouTube, and you really have to look for some of them, there's a lot of like analysts and things like that, fic readers, like, do something that, like, it doesn't have to be a major thing, but like something that differentiates you from the rest. Something that is interesting, like Lightning Bliss does a lot of their own art. They also do like they're an alicorn, which is a fairly rare thing amongst like popular YouTubers on the fandom and on YouTube in general when it comes to MLP. You got some that'll do a lot of skits. You know, Silverquill's known for his continuity. Commander Firebrand's angry all the time. I don't know. I've never actually gotten a chance to talk to him. Let's see. My other suggestion is if you're going to do MLP related content, find another large content creator, make friends. The best thing you can do right now in YouTube, and this is in general for any kind of content creation, find somebody that does something similar to you, make friends with them, and then at some point you may be able to like get them to do a collab with you, which will be the best way to grow a channel. This is not just a me thing that I've noticed. Like, this is an in general thing. That is how channels get bigger nowadays, is they go through with different collabs. So that's my best recommendation for you. For Bun, you asked, how many OCs do I have? So there's my big three, Lena, Gaster, and the Nameless one, or Shadowfire. I also have 3 Half-Dragon OCs, Vishka, Ryu, and Ymir. After them, there's Nebula, who is my Kirin, and there's Dwavel, my Kobold. I can't think of any more off the top of my head, so I think that's it. Let's see. Happy New Year to you too, Dracalicorn. I hope I didn't butcher that. Let's see. How many times have I collaborated with Sawtooth? So there was the one shout out. I don't know if you'd call that a collaboration, but I did kind of inspire that theory. Let's see. Let's see, what's the next one? Next one would be Into the Multiverse. Then I think there was 2 videos that I made small appearances in, followed by him making 1 appearance in a video that's already out and a second one that isn't out yet for me. So what was that, like 6? Something like that? I don't know. I know I am probably the person that is the most collabed with him. Let's see. I don't know anybody's ages right that for your question one alone, but I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case. Unless that was directed at the chat. Let's see. For you, Dracalicorn, I have heard rumors that they are getting rid of the current the previous generation, G4, but I am not entirely certain. But Yay Ponies will probably have that up till they figure out how to take it down. Okay, Bun, that is actually a very interesting question, because with Lost Memories and Peacemakers, it is part of what I have decided to call a saga of various campaigns. So as of right now, they actually have had some interactions that some of the players that have been in both campaigns may or may not have noticed. Cameo and Fair, if you're in the chat, you might chime in on whether or not you'd notice the interactions. But also, Yay Ponies is a website that you can find basically all of the shows, movies, and comics on. Let's see. As for crossovers, like actual full crossovers, the eventual plan is that I'm going to have 2 concurrent campaigns for the foreseeable future. One will stay in GURPS, one will be in 5th edition D&D, and eventually they will intersect. They may not be the same campaign anymore, like Peacemakers is ending and Heart of Darkness will be starting up, but there are going to be characters that there are going to be characters that will be constant across at least multiple campaigns. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it'll be interesting for anybody who knows what's going on. Yes, Cameo, that is a very good observation. Does anybody have any more questions? I think I'm gonna go ahead and or voice mod could just not work. It does this sometimes. I think it just doesn't like how long I leave it open. Fair, did you say that just so you could say Cameo twice? Torn's question, my day is going pretty well. It's been pretty nice. Nice, quiet. For Bun, the MLP multiverse, like I have said with Sawtooth, is very much a thing, and I like that it is a thing because it gives like creative freedom to people who are making content that isn't like canon content. It gives the people like me opportunities to go, well, what if? And it also gives people like Sawtooth easy cop-out answers. Because well, that's canon, but not in this universe. Honestly, he doesn't do that very often because it is, in fact, a very lazy way to answer any theory questions. It would be nice if voice mod would start working. Technical difficulties. Let's see. Favorite main 6. I would say it's a tie between Applejack and Rainbow Dash. Applejack kind of makes me think of my upbringing, and I just like Rainbow Dash's spunky attitude, and you know. Jacalicorn, it's just cold here. Yes, give me one moment. Okay. Can I be heard? I will also say, and this is something that I am bringing up So before I answer your question, Moonstar, I'm going to address something what One Alone just said. I will say that Hasbro themselves have created things that are non-canon, especially through the IDW comics. One of the things that I actually address is one of their major, like, non-canon comic lines, the Friendship in Disguise comic line. If anybody reads the comics, it is a line where basically they go and fight with the Transformers. Hence the non-canon nature of it. Let me go ahead. I'm going to put on some background music because I just remembered I forgot to do that. Okay. Or Moonstar asks, what are the Windigos? The Windigos... So, I think looking at them, they're not only meant to be a combination of the, what's that? I would say that they're a combination of, like, the Four Winds and, like, an actual Wendigo. Without really knowing much more about it, though, I can't really say too much. Torn asks, also, isn't there a bunch of stuff Lauren would post on Twitter that got contradicted in the show? So she left, to my understanding, in like either the first or fourth season, and once she's gone, her creative vision doesn't have to be followed. She can post anything she wants, but if the show contradicts it, it's technically not right. Whether or not she originally redid the show to the Friendship is Magic we all love doesn't matter. It's more of a what are we actually seeing that is getting told through the story. Fire Rose the Hedgehog asks, thoughts on the Equestria Girls movies? Not a fan, honestly. Like, I can see the appeal of EQG, both the movies and, like, the little shorts that they did for, like, the younger audiences, but, like, I was never really into the, like, school drama type stuff. So, like, I can see the appeal of it, and some of it does have some interesting lore drops that you kind of have to watch to find, but, like, when it has nothing to do with ponies, I've really not particularly been interested in watching them myself. I may go back and watch more of it to try and, like, see if there's anything that I could necessarily glean for videos, but as of right now, like, not a fan, but I can see, like, why they did it. To One Alone, as far as I'm aware, as long as it doesn't directly contradict the show, it is technically canon when it comes to, like, all of the comic books from IDW. As well as a lot of the novelizations of, like, side events and things like that. I would say, because I know that Fallout Equestria got officially published, mainly because, to my understanding, whenever they were going to take Fallout Equestria to court, it just kind of, like, they didn't end up getting, they didn't end up showing up, so Fallout Equestria won by default. Lore drop, it was just a way of saying, like, they're giving information about the lore. It was just kind of talking about, like, the Memory Stone is, like, one of the things that showed up. The sirens, the, like, the interactions between the two worlds. That's a good one. I would say probably Raise That Barn, or Raise This Barn. It would probably be one of my top songs. I also enjoyed the Magic of Friendship Grows, Autumn Blazes song that I cannot remember the name of for the life of me, and What My Cutie Mark Is Telling Me. Let's see. Bun asked, other than Undertale and MLP, are you into any other fandoms? So kind of, sort of. I used to be into role-playing, for like freeform text-based role-play, very, very heavily into that. Although lately I have like fallen out of that because it comes to a point where there's a skill ceiling. I have also been in the fandoms for several different games. For a while I was in Warframes, Destinies, things like that. Briar Rose Hedgehog. Do you think there was a purpose to be more than one of... There was supposed to be more than one of Discord's species? Yes and no. I think there was more than one spirit of chaos. In fact, we see examples of things like that through the comics, but not specifically a Draconicus. The Draconiqui, I think, are entirely like, he is a one of a kind type of creature, and that I believe was because of the fact that he's kind of a mishmash of different creatures. This is something that I could probably cover in a future video, but to my knowledge, like, it wouldn't make sense to have an entire Draconicus race. However, I do believe, and this is kind of something going against something Sawtooth has said, I do believe that there was, in fact, an Alicorn race. We do have a few things that I have seen that make me think that. Cameo asks, I honestly hate the lore around dragons. What about you? I feel like there's not enough of it. From what they do give us, it feels very, like, short. Like, there's not nearly enough to, like, give an actual, like, racial lore to it. Because they're basically established as their own, like, solid nation. They have a ruler, they have land, like, they have everything but a proper city. And there's never given anything like how long they lived. It was torch around when the Pillars of Equestria were doing their thing. Like, none of that, like, was really ever established properly. So, like, there's not really... There's not really anything there, which is why I generally try to use more of the, like, lore that is given through Dungeons and Dragons, because they're much more fleshed out, much more, like, interesting, and it makes it so much easier to, like, put together if you have, like, pre-established lore that makes it so much easier. So it's not necessarily like the, yes, trickster spirits of like, there seem to be a number of different spirits of chaos, and we're actually introduced to another type of spirit, a spirit of malice. And so I think each universe in the MLP universe has their own version of a spirit of chaos, and it could be that they all call themselves Draconiqui, but like there's no, like, the one we do see looks more like an Orinthian with horns, and the spirit of malice looks like Discord, but like a little more put together. I wouldn't say that a trickster spirit is a proper race, but like a species of creature that is like a spirit of something that is spread out across the multiverse would almost qualify. Briar Rose the Hedgehog asks, if your main OC wasn't an alicorn, which species would you have chosen? Kieran. Hands down, it would have been Kieran. He, even with his design right now, would still make a pretty decent looking Kieran, but I've decided, because of how powerful the character was meant to be, that an alicorn like was the best way to go. And you know, he looks amazing as is now. Let's see. So I'm gonna swing back around to the question about collabs, because I didn't mention one of the like technical collabs that I've done, where I have commissioned music through some of the like fandoms, like musical artists that I have really enjoyed quite a bit. So one of my favorites that I've done, and you guys have probably heard it if you see if you've seen any of the Lost Memory streams, is the piece done by Forever Free Brony. Let me know in the chat if you actually would like me to play the song, but it's Who Named Us? That was one of my favorites up until I actually commissioned Black and Blue, which both guys absolute joys to work with. They're like pretty awesome. Like Goonie has some issues with lyrics, I found out that, but I don't really fault him. Like I can't write poetry, and music is fairly similar. I definitely enjoyed like having the ability to like have music that wasn't like just royalty free stuff, that was like when my players heard that music, they'd be like, oh, that's the campaign. Did I miss your question? Oh, I see what you said. Okay, yeah, sorry I missed that, Moonstar. So that's actually a really good question, and I would say with the way that things appear to have gone, much like I said in my video actually addressing this topic, it is entirely possible that all but Twilight are dead, because we are given the like expectation for alicorns that they live ridiculous numbers of years. So unless we're talking like probably around 100,000 years later, the alicorns should still be alive, like all of them. unless there was some sort of like major problem that like you should still be seeing war scars from. I don't really see like the alicorns being dead, but like the rest of the main 6 are probably dead. Like I said before, it depends on how long it's been, and with as bad as they are at recording their own history, who knows? It's kind of a crapshoot. See. So, anybody else have any more questions? We are apparently having technical difficulties. There we go. So, I was hoping that the Tree of Harmony's death would be addressed in the, Well, you have a great evening, Torn. I was hoping the Tree of Harmony's death would have been addressed in the Season 10 comics, but honestly, there's not enough information in those comics to like actually be able to formulate any kind of like proper decision. It is entirely possible that the tree is dead. As to what One Alone just said, I have seen no proof that they did that. Nowhere that they said that, so I don't know if that is true or not. MLP Generations actually, to my understanding, is a continuation after Season 10, which confused the hell out of me, but it is apparently what they are doing with that. And it looks like they still use the G4 main 6. So I am going to be looking into that to try and get more information. And if I come across anything, I will probably end up making a video about it. As to like anything that they'll probably do with the show, I really don't see them doing much with it. They seem to be trying to basically like they're going back to the basics. It's like, oh, we can all be friends. We don't need trinkets. It's the friends we made along the way. As to the treehouse, in the movie we didn't see enough of any of that to be able to like definitively make a judgment on where we even were in Equestria, because the assumption is we're still in Equestria. A lot of people like to say that the crystal tree is now a tree that showed up at the end credits scene, but like it was a crystal tree with a house inside of it. I don't think it's just going to turn into a normal tree on a hill with nothing, with no magical forest or ruined castle around it. So yeah. So I don't know what they're gonna do with that, or how they're going to take that, or if they're even going to continue incorporating the supposedly primary tier canon for Season 10, where they introduced multiple trees and multiple elements sets. Because they did that. They kind of left the story a mess, but yeah. And Cameo asks, by the way, why do you think they constantly say only ponies have magic? There are so many kinds of magic. Why did they constantly emphasize only pony magic when they talk about all magic being gone? Do you want the blunt answer, or do you want the drawn out fancier answer? Because I can give you both. I'm gonna give you a sec to decide on that one. Have I caught up with you? Did you hear that question? Both. Okay, so blunt answer is they didn't think about it. Like, you kind of like, you see that in the way the movie was done. That they didn't really think about whether or not the other races would really be affected if you said all of the magic was gone, but then only give pony magic, like, any kind of showing. Considering how many races there were by the end of G4, and the fact that they actually somewhat added more in the G4, like, Season 10 comics. Like, they not necessarily added, but expanded upon more. Like, that was more than they seemed to want to think about. Because, like, MLP at its core is about ponies. So they're like, all anybody ever cares about is the ponies. They're not going to notice the fact that, like, you know, so many people want changeling OCs now that they're jokingly called the new Alicorn. Or the fact that, like, Kirins are hugely popular, believe it or not. People would love to see more Kelpies, the ones that actually know about that. Like, things like that. But, I feel like the other answer is they don't think about continuity so much because this show made for kid not think about continuity. Why we make show with continuity if it for kid? So yeah. Briar Rose the Hedgehog says, what do you think happened to the other species that lived in G4? Do you think they'll show us those species again in G5, or do we presume they are extinct? Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to pull the, like, same, like, oh, look, the changelings are invading, but they're not reformed anymore, and, like, try to rehash a lot of the old storylines. But, it's really difficult to actually, say for sure, because, you know, we don't really have a good look into it. But, like, there's such a lore-rich world around them that they basically just, like, put us in a box and said, you can't look anywhere else, and we're not even going to exactly let you see where in the box you are. But they might exist, but we're not going to give you any reason to believe yes or no. So it's definitely difficult to say on whether or not they'll actually do anything meaningful with that. So, and yes, I have watched MLP G5. Let's see. Zebras had potion magic unless Zakora was... So, Zakora is actually told as an outlier in the Season 10 comics. She's, like, not considered the normal because she can do magic things, because she went out and looked for how to do magic things. I believe one of their princes can use a magical item, but, like, zebras don't have natural inborn magic or innate magic. But there are other races out there, so Kirin, Changelings, the Diamond Dogs from the comics, not from the, like, show itself, because they actually retconned what those looked like, and they are much nicer to look at than the show ones. The Abyssinians and Orinthians, so Capper and the pirates, all of them have magic. Centaurs have magic, although so I take that back. They're able to use magic, but they're not. They don't have innate magic, but they know about and are able to use magic. Trying to think if there's any other innately magical races off the top of my head, but those are like the main ones. And to say that all of the magic is gone would mean that they also lost their magic. See, Knights of Harmony to get warming about it. Let's see. That is actually a really good question. One Alone asked, was Chrysalis the only known egg layer for the changelings? To my knowledge, the answer is yes. And I don't know, because if you go by the Fiendship is Magic introduction of how Chrysalis and the changelings came to be, they came out of a tree and she was the only one that was like her, like the ability to reproduce. A lot of people like to headcanon that more than one changeling queen exists, and that's just the only hive that is like legitimately known about in Equestria. But yeah, it's difficult to say for sure. If there are, it could be like an insect, like where like they lose the queen and then a new queen steps up. But even then, it could be argued that like Thorax's existence has disrupted that natural cycle. So yeah, I'm not entirely certain on that one. It is entirely possible that they could have run out of eggs eventually and then just died off. So yeah. As to that cameo, I do not know if her fear, like, it did feel like they were trying to telegraph that that was a possibility for Ocellus, but it feels like they didn't really explore it well enough to, like, definitively say. It is an interesting storyline, though. I would highly recommend reading all of the comics, honestly, except maybe Friendship in Disguise. That one, read that one if you want, but it's really not going to give you much. Other than, you know, it's really difficult to get into Equestria from, like, an outside universe. See. I mean, the issue with Thorax is that transformation is shown to be a natural part of their abilities. He has his brother, and all of the others could. So one of the theories that, like, I helped at least start the, like, thought process for with Sawtooth is the idea that there may be still unreformed changelings that, like, fled from being, like, force-fed the crayon soup. They didn't want to eat the crayons because they liked how their lives were before, so they left. I think with Thorax's brother Pharynx, I think that he stuck around more because of his brother and, like, the bond that they seemed to share above other changelings, because technically they're all related, but, like, they seem to form familial bonds with other changelings compared to, like, this one changeling is a sibling compared to this changeling who is not. It may be entirely arbitrary how they decide that, but, like, those family units seem to be something that is actually important to them. So, I mean, they look like they ate crayons and that turned them that color. I honestly prefer the edgy Swiss cheese appearance. So, to what Lightning Stripe just said, the implication is that there are family units, but if you look at how they are just trying to emulate like pony society, they may have tried to create the nuclear family to like be like, hey, the ponies do this, we might as well do it too. So it's definitely something that it'll be interesting if it does turn out that their biology changed that way. But it doesn't seem terribly likely because, like, I feel like that's a massive change, even for a magical change on that kind of scale. And, like, it just seems kind of like they could... It also kind of, like, begs the question, too, with the transformation being because, like, they were giving love, like, if they felt any kind of love for anybody else, then how come they didn't just transform already? You kind of see it in the show, too, where they have this, like, oh, I can do this? And then they just do it. It's just kind of like... Don't get me wrong, I like changelings and all, but sometimes they just come off as so dense. So dense. Maybe naive is a better word for it. Let's see. One Alone asks if she was the only egg layer, would they have risked her evil to bring her out of stone to save the changelings or let them go? So with that one, more than likely it's a possibility of combination of the, like, if it was in fact that she was the only egg layer, the real question is, did they understand that? And if they needed the ponies to break them free, then would the ponies understand that? It's kind of like there's so many factors to it. Also, I will say that it is shown that they are starting to break out of the statue at the end of the Season 10 comic, which is primary to your canon. I would say Chrysalis never thought of making another colony because she was already in charge of one. It's not very likely, like, if she gave birth to another queen, that queen would go to another colony. But it's kind of, think of it like a anthill kind of deal. Let's see. Trying to keep up with y'all. Actually, what Moonstone just said kind of made me think of something that is interesting to contemplate when they say all of the magic is gone. How come this crystal still worked? Because we've seen magic, like, legitimately be sucked out of everything with Cozy Glow and... can you... What question did you ask? You go ahead and repost that, Moonstar. But if you take all of the magic out of everything, even the items stop working, and the Pegasi can't fly, and like at that point it's just like, why did the crystals work in the movie if all of the magic is gone? So that leads me to believe that it wasn't a all or nothing kind of deal like it was with Cozy Glow, but like more of the like only certain people lost magic. Kind of like more of a Tyrek type scenario where they like he like drained them of magic but like didn't drain the world of magic. I swear there's another scenario where something like that happened where people lost control of their magic. But like, yeah, I don't think it was necessarily... There's a lot more going on there that we don't know about, that we need to wait to see what happens. I take it that Moonstar is not going to repost their question. But, yes. So, let's see. We're doing pretty good on time. Anybody else have any more questions? I do believe that is something that you don't need me to answer, Moonstar. That is, pretty easily available. Could also be that all the magic was sucked into the crystals. Yeah, but then why would you... Why specifically the ponies? Like, it doesn't make sense. Something like the Crystal Heart can happen again, but with other emotions. Cameo, refresh my memory. What do you mean by that? Like, a little more specific. That is one alone. That is an interesting perspective on it, but it seems a little off to me because a lot of people it's a lot of different things that you could say it could be doing, but like it's not easy to pinpoint whether it would be trying to protect it, trying to take it away, a punishment. Like there's so many things you could say, or like it could be another like Windigo scenario where they're like, oh, they're not getting along, take it all away now. I was like, it makes no sense, but like since they isolated, I could see where like the Windigos wouldn't show up, but you can't exactly say that not having magic was the reason that worked that way. Let's see. It's entirely possible. Moonstar, the lightning stripe actually gave you the answer for that. As to Briar Rose's question, it's entirely possible depending on the situation, but I feel like they're probably not going to go too deeply into it. Okay, Crystal Heart runs on love and protects its people and affects others affected by the Empire's emotions, since that affects their love. Someone to make... It is entirely possible. It would be kind of similar to, like, think of, like, you'll understand this one, Cameo. Think of like the Green Lantern Corps. It's basically the same kind of concept, but it's a singular item powered by multiple entities instead of just a ring powered by one entity charged off of another item powered by the universe. See, Moonstone. Been thinking on this question, why they don't disappear all the magic except the crystals. Good question. I don't know what to tell you on that one. So here's a bit of an idea for y'all. The pony magic never actually disappeared. It was locked off. They still had it. They just couldn't access it because the crystals got separated. What do y'all think of that idea? And that's why it only affected the ponies, because it only locked off the ponies' magic because the crystals weren't united or yada yada whatever. So, what do y'all think of that? I might actually do a video on that one. It's actually something that yeah, it's like saying it's just gone is easier to say, but like not as easy to explain. But saying that like saying it's like locked off due to a repercussion for something that happened is more likely and more explainable. It depends on the route that they go, Briar Rose. Briar Rose asks, since equestrian magic is becoming unlocked, do you think it'll contradict their newfound technology? So the Pegasi one would be the only ones that have that issue, really. And, well, the Pegasi and the Earth Ponies would be the ones that only ones that have that issue. If it were... So, a lot of settings, most of the time, technology and magic just do not mix. Unless it's specifically made to mix. And then it has to be, like, simple tech. Otherwise, it's like the magic fries, like, circuit boards and shit like that. But, for that one, it is a good way to, like, figure out... Good way to figure out if it's gonna work is, like... I lost where I'm going with that sentence. Hold on a sec. So, the route that I would say would be the most interesting to go with is that, like, technology doesn't like lots of magic. So, like, a unicorn couldn't use a cell phone. But, like, the Earth Ponies and the Pegasi would be just fine. And it kind of fits their lifestyles, too, if you look at it. Both the Earth Ponies and Pegasi had a lot of technology around. But the unicorns, kind of a sparse, bare-bones type of living space. When it came to, like, technology. Like, their technology was like a Dance Dance Revolution made of wood. And, like, not an electronic one. See. also said that they made all magical creatures in G5 look like real-life creatures to resemble the fact that all magic, including magic inside. There's no bugbears and manticores. Bugbears and manticores were already rare in G4, though. That doesn't really necessarily mean that there's no magic for them. Just saying that they, like, oh, we made them look like regular animals. No, they were already rare. In fact, the only time you really saw... Yes, flim flam machines are very similar. In fact, I would actually call what they used Magitech, a combination of magic and, like, simple technology. There was that one time in Tartarus, yes, but without actually seeing some sort of, like, example of a magical creature being turned back. Like, they showed that very well where they were split apart, but I don't see them being able to just go, like, well, magic go poof, and, like, they show no real, like, magic went poof kind of thing. Yes, that one alone, that is about where I was kind of going with that line of thinking. Basically, if the crystals are together and the ponies are, like, basically behaving themselves and getting along, then the lock stays open. But they cause a rift, the lock comes apart and closes. And then they're not able to use their magic. It honestly, it leaves the door open for all of the other races and all of the other magical creatures that should be around to be around without destroying the established canon, or, like, basically making it so that they're basically just rebooting it to square one without having to say that they rebooted it to square one. Kind of makes things a little easier on both ends, for both people that enjoy G4 and the people that are looking forward to G5. Or it's like they're not really giving up anything on either side. But yeah, that's about where I was thinking with that. And like I said, I will go ahead and I might actually make that the next video. I haven't. So the video coming up, it will be about character creation in D&D. I will be running through how to, like, make a character, a nice little 8-minute video on that, probably a little longer. And then the video after that, I might do the idea that the crystals are more of a lock and key kind of situation rather than a, you know, they hold all of the magic or whatever, like, however they wanted to explain it. One that makes more sense to, like, allow for, like, the magic creatures of the settings that were already there, like, they just kind of left because the ponies were insufferable, instead of, like, oh, they just don't exist anymore. So, yeah. But I think that I will probably go ahead and call it a night for the stream. If you guys enjoyed that, let me know in the comments of the videos or on my Discord or wherever, and we can see about probably doing a few more of these this year. If you enjoyed this kind of, like, open Q&A style. I also, at the end of every month, on my $5 tier and up, do a end of the month discussion that I haven't really had a lot of people showing up to them, but we can do discussions talking about stuff like this and all of that interesting kind of stuff on a more regular basis. But the Discord is free, and I will answer most questions there as well. And the Patreon just helps me make more videos. But other than that, I gotta say a big thank you to all of my supporters on Patreon, Cameo Shadowness, Sawtooth Waves, and Elizander especially. Those are my Priest and Zealot tiers. We are still on the fence on whether or not we will be running Peacemakers tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. I will make an announcement for whether or not we will be doing that on my Discord. So if you are interested to see if they are going to be playing tomorrow, just hop in there. And then next weekend we will be back with the regular schedule. Other than that, the 14th, I believe, is, let me double check the schedule. Let's see. Yes, the 14th is when we will be releasing an Alicorn's thoughts on canonicity, which will be our next video where I talk about like how canon works within the fandom and like some of the things that like people get a little wrong about canonicity according to like what we know from the show and all of that. Also wanted to go ahead and point out, if you can't make it for the like Patreon, there's also the YouTube has their own member system that I started. Any kind of donations in the chat are also welcome at any time. Super chat has been turned on for this. I will be doing a bit of a break between Peacemakers and Heart of Darkness before that starts up, so we will probably end up doing the Acquisitions Incorporated campaign for a little bit. But other than that, I hope everybody has a wonderful year now. Happy New Year's, it's 2022, and I look forward to a year full of amazing videos and a lot of fun. So I will talk to everyone later. Have a great evening and drink water.